Anyway, next to speak is Ali Salman from the Alternate Solutions Institute in Pakistan. This institute was started by Professor Khalil Ahmad, who's who's sitting in about the fourth row back, and he started it as a result of meeting some of us at a Montpellier meeting in Sri Lanka in 2004, I think, and actually after a while Professor Ramespour, as a result of that meeting, started one in Afghanistan with some hope and encouragement by Tom, who, a bit like Larry, is very difficult to resist. But anyway, we'll now listen to Ali Salman.
Thank you so much, Linda, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience on how to make our message heard louder and smarter. And just like Tom was taking a strategic management or a business approach, I will do the same while trying to respond to this question, with the only difference that while Tom took 15 slides, I will take only one slide. So, I would like to start with a rather pessimistic note in the beginning, where Larry actually left at a very optimistic high note. And my basic premise, the starting premise, is this. We have not won the war of ideas as yet. And this war is far from over. While I say this, that we have not won the war of ideas yet, there could be various reasons, there could be various explanations. I have only identified three main possible reasons. One is that maybe there is something wrong in the message itself, so the message could be faulty. Second is there's maybe something wrong with how message is packaged, how it is presented to the audience, to the customers, etc. And third possible reason is maybe the time or the environment is not ripe enough to accept that idea or the message. So it could be the message, it could be the package, it could be the environment. And I'll take a shot at each of these three major fundamental reasons of building on my premise of why we have not won the war of ideas yet. But just to put you in perspective, we have been hearing from a lot of speeches last 2 or 3 days from MPS conference. We heard Razin Sali talking about Doha round failure, and we heard him speaking about that the failure of Doha round is actually making some countries very pessimistic about free trade, etc. Countries like Pakistan, who are experiencing very low level of economic growth in the last few years, may resort back to the political trap of greater state intervention as the elections are nearby. We have this whole Arab Spring and the debate around the Arab Spring, where we heard our friends saying that, well, we may be moving towards democracy, but at the same time, we may be losing or risking some of the civil liberties. So there are those tussles and conflicts and challenges going on in the world as we know it. And as intellectual entrepreneurs, obviously, we have to confront all these problems. And what I will try to present here, a sort of a model which I have developed based on my experiences, and try to generalize the model, which may help some of us in actually learning how to do the things we are doing better. So the basic objective is making us heard louder and smarter. And as I promised you, this is going to be the first and the last slide. But I think that I'm facing a bit technical Sorry, I did not check it. This is. Okay, thank you, Tom. You are a savior. So, I've identified 3 problems here. One of the problem is that we do not localize the message itself. Take the idea of property rights, for example. Now, we all know property rights are a fundamental element to the institution of market economy. But it is possible that in some of the countries, the private property rights are well secure. I would like to share, for example, De Soto, who actually is associated with the entire idea of property rights, came over to Pakistan and he analyzed the status of private property rights. And well, he made some initial findings, but even De Soto could not sell to Pakistani policymakers that whether the property rights is the problem. Why? Because Pakistan in its history has never remained a collectivist state from where the entire discussion of private property rights versus state-owned property emerged. So if we cannot actually localize the message of private property rights into our local context, then the message may not be loud and clear. The second problem, in my view, is that we do not politicize our message. What do I mean by that? We have heard a lot of academic arguments about various ideologies and their implications. But in the think tank world, we cannot remain too much of an academic. We have to demonstrate the political implications and political nuances of our messages. And if we don't do this job very effectively and clearly, then I am afraid then we actually are not, we are not delivering our message effectively. The third problem, in my view, is that we do not link locally. Many of us, I count myself one of them, may be well known or well connected, at least internationally rather than locally. While there may be many people, academicians, businessmen, journalists, politicians, who are sympathetic to our viewpoint, but how the think tank entire sector is growing with the support of institutions like Atlas. One of the factors I observed is that there's a lot of emphasis on and this is our own priority, that we may be investing too much time on international linkages and relatively less time in building local linkages. So these are the 3 problems which actually keep our message not heard loud enough. Now, what are the corresponding proposals to that effect? The first, corresponding to the lack of localization problem, is of course that we have to contextualize it. That's why you will see that I call this C3 model. The contextualization is the first one. And if we are able to, for example, link the idea of private property rights, for example, with intellectual property rights within Pakistan, which is very relevant, then it may make better and clear sense to policymakers and politicians and the local public. The other strategy could be how we can create contrast in our messages. What do we mean by contrast? A lot of people, a lot of other organizations or political parties may be talking about democracy, but we are also talking about democracy. And sometimes this academic difference maybe is lost in the general public. Okay, what do we mean by liberal democracy and illiberal democracy? Similarly, now a lot of organizations, a lot of political parties may be already sold on the idea of market economy because, all right, we know that socialist model hasn't worked. So what is the difference? They're also talking about market economy and we are also talking about market economy. So we need to develop and clearly show contrasts of our message in in political terms to our audience, to our stakeholders, to our customers. And the third C here is connect. We contextualize, we contrast, and we connect. And we connect with the local people, we connect with the local business networks, with the politicians, with the journalists, etc., to make our message effective. The third area, which is kind of the conclusion of this presentation, is that these two, the contextualization and the contrast element, refer to the content development. These are the two areas in which we want to work in terms of which are the areas which we need to improve. The first is the content development, which will take care of how the message is crafted and how the message is delivered. And the second area is the strategic communication, which is about how do we develop strong communication networks within our own local environment so that the message can be effectively delivered and communicated. So at this I would just like to conclude that maybe this is based on my experience, what I've tried to generalize, but I would welcome obviously more feedback, thoughts on how we can make our message more smarter and more louder. Thank you so much.